Hello, my name is Simon Hobson, and today's episode I'm joined by Robert Humphries.
There were also emigration companies that were set up. There was one set up in New York, for example, in the late 1860s to buy land from a railroad in Kansas, and a community was set up called Bala, Kansas, and this was a consortium of a group of Welsh ministers and fairly well-off Welshmen in New York who then bought this land and then offered it to Welsh people for either for free or for a very low cost. And the idea there was to create a Welsh community, and it seems contradictory because at the same time I think there was a sense that they also wanted to assimilate. They certainly wanted to assimilate American ideals. They weren't necessarily particularly attached to the British Crown or the British state, but they were very eager to be part of the United States. And for a time, and depending upon where they were and their own dispositions, there was some eagerness to kind of maintain some sort of Welsh linguistic identity. There was a lot going on ideologically in the Welsh people's heads in the 19th century, and with example of, for instance, my wife's ancestors, the Lloyd Jones family from near Llandyssil, they were radical Unitarians. They were part of the they had been involved in the Rebecca Riots. They were and of course the Unitarians were among the most radical sort of Republican, small r Republican leaning groups in Wales at that time, and so they found themselves, it's appropriate that this is called New Wales, this podcast, because that's what they wanted. They wanted a new Wales, but they also wanted a new sort of a new political structure for themselves. That wasn't necessarily the prime motivator for most immigrants. I think they were more interested in just being able to to have land to farm, and be able to to benefit economically from migration. See a lot of American patriotism among the Welsh, particularly if you look at Welsh publications like Drych, which was the newspaper that was published from 1851, and there were several other Welsh publications, a Cyfaill o'r Henw Wlad, the friend from the old country. Even if you look at the iconography of the mastheads on those publications and the covers of those publications, you see this sort of combination of the ancient Welsh culture. You see these little druids and and standing stones on one side, and then you see industry and the symbols of the American Republic on the other side of the masthead. So they're trying to sort of show that they want to move to this new country, this new way of thinking, but at the same time they don't want to completely lose they want to maintain that culture, and they're proud of being part of both of those.
Is the Welsh linguistic invisibility in an online world, is that hampering Wales developing its own global internationalist identity, do you think?
Yes, I think so. I think it's really important that the Welsh language is seen and recognized, and I think we've all seen the joke about the Welsh language being created by a cat walking across a keyboard. Those sort of things, which as Welsh people we either roll our eyes at or just kind of let roll off our back. But I think there's a definite need for both the Welsh language and even just Welsh identity. An acknowledgement of Cymru and the Cymru needs to be out there in the world. And if I can demonstrate, if I can sort of illustrate this, when I came to Ohio, I lived in Ohio for 10 years, and I had absolutely no idea that there had been Welsh immigration. And even when I was at Miami University, it was a few miles away from Paddy's Run, which is the first Welsh settlement in Ohio, and I was completely unaware of that when I was in college. And it's only after learning about studying Welsh, the Welsh diaspora, that I came to know this. So it really, there really is a problem, I think, with Welshness not being understood and recognized on a global scale.
How influential can the Welsh diaspora be?
Well, I think that's a big question. I think one of the things I can speak for myself is that I'm trying to raise awareness of this particular of these Welsh contributions to North American history in both the United States and Canada, and trying to foster connections with people back in Wales. And we do have a lot of connections already. A lot of these are very personal connections between people who live here, who even a couple of generations back, people still keep in contact with their cousins. That's obviously on a more personal community level, really. But I think through making people more aware of this history, and raising the profile of Welsh ethnic communities historically, as well as individuals and organizations that over the years have continued to be prominent. I think that's one of the things that we can do. There are a lot of people, innovators, entrepreneurs, who have left Wales. My hope is that looking back at my homeland, I hope that people can bring some of that back or be inspired by it to really bring that sort of spirit back into Wales.
Humphries, diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much for being a guest, and all the best.
Well, diolch yn fawr, oedd yn bleser sgwrsio gyda ti heddiw, Simon. It was a pleasure to talk to you today.